Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I've prepared a quick haul video. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dynamite Entertainment. Thank you so much for sending these over. I can't wait to finish my read-throughs and do some reviews. For those that perhaps don't know, Dynamite Entertainment is one of our great independent publishers in this comic book industry. I know I reviewed another book from them on the channel. If you missed out on my James Bond by Warren Ellis collection, I did review that maybe a year or so ago. I absolutely loved that collection, both the written work, the art, and even the edition itself. It was made with a lot of care. I have hoped for the opportunity to read more books from Dynamite, so I'm really eager to talk about the books here today. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into today's unboxing and haul. Okay, so here's the box I got from Dynamite Entertainment, and I will say right from the jump, it was packaged extremely well. We have so many of these kind of packing peanuts, and each of the books were actually wrapped individually in their own kind of cardboard sleeve, nice, taped, secured. Really no issue here. I was really excited when this box arrived at my doorstep, and to see, again, the care they took to just package everything well, just really excited. And just because we don't need another minute of me just opening cardboard boxes, here are the contents of today's haul from Dynamite. We have Peter Cannon Thunderbolt by Kieran Gillen. We have the Project Superpowers Omnibus Volume 1, which is this nice paperback. And to the left, we have Gargoyles Here in Manhattan, which is their launch of their Gargoyle comic line after they just got the license here within the last couple years. Very, very cool stuff. So these are the three books I got from Dynamite. Like I said, I am so eager to finish making my way through them. For full transparency, I did record the video for this portion of the video before the audio I'm recording now, and in that time I actually did read Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, so I probably will review that first, and I'm actually maybe halfway through the Gargoyles book, so I'm thinking that'll be my second. Project Superpowers is a bit of a bigger collection, so that might take a minute, but I'm really excited for that one as well. I just recently broke into it to kind of see what it's all about, but yeah, this is a pretty awesome lineup here. To that end, I thought it'd be cool to showcase each book for just a couple minutes. I won't really go into spoiler territory, but just kind of flip through some of the early stuff in these collections, speak to them a little bit, just so you can get kind of a sampling of what I got today. If any of them look interesting to you as well, you can definitely pick them up from most major comic book retailers. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, first up today is the paperback collection I mentioned earlier. This is Project Superpowers, the Omnibus Volume 1. I say Omnibus, that might confuse some. This is a standard size paperback, rest assured. For the creators, the story was mostly by Jim Krueger and Alex Ross, with the script largely from Jim Krueger. As far as the art direction, we have a lot of different artists on this, including Stefan Sadowski, Douglas Klaba, Carlos Paul, and more. We also have some cover art throughout this collection by Alex Ross, which is a particular highlight for me. But yeah, so what is this? What is Project Superpowers? Again, I'm just starting to break into it, but my understanding is that this is a team superhero book that takes a roster of characters that were a lot of like golden age characters from various defunct comic book magazines from back in the day. A lot of these characters were in the public domain, and this book kind of resurrects them all and gives us just a really cool, sprawling superhero epic. The work itself is generally set in kind of an alternate history present. Even though a lot of these characters fought in kind of the World War II era, we have a lot of the stories happening in, again, the more present day, or at least present when this was coming out. I think early 2000s was maybe when this was first written. Yeah, 2008. Anyway, that's all I can really speak to at this point. Like I said, of the three in this collection, this is actually the one I have read the least. I've just read kind of the introduction and maybe the first couple pages. The collection itself is well over 500 pages, so I mean, this is a pretty substantial book. You know, I'd say it's pretty comparable size-wise to something like a Marvel Epic collection, 20 or something issues. Paper stock's a bit thicker, kind of glossier, which I like. Looks like a glued binding here. But yeah, I'm really eager to jump into it. As I flip through too, the art just looks incredible, and other than Alex Ross, I'm not personally familiar with a lot of these artists, so I'm really interested to kind of see what I feel reading through it, but definitely excited to check out Project Superpowers. I am curious in the comments, if you've read this, can you give some feedback on this book? Light to no spoilers, please. I just want to hear general consensus from anyone who's maybe read it so far. Like I said, I'm definitely intrigued. I'm really excited Dynamite sent this out. But yeah, if you've heard of this, if you've read it, let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to see a review on the channel, let me know on that as well. I do plan to review it, but obviously if there's more interest in it, I can try to put this on the front burner and try to get it read a little bit quicker. But yeah, that is Project Superpowers Omnibus Volume 1. Next up, we have the relaunch of the Gargoyles universe. This is Gargoyles Here in Manhattan, Volume 1 by Dynamite. This was written by Greg Weisman, which is one of the creators of the Gargoyles animated series back in the day. He's also done his own Gargoyle comics since then, but this is the newest relaunch, and this is over here at Dynamite, as I mentioned. Illustrations throughout are provided by George Cambaday's. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But yeah, that's really the main creators here. We obviously have a bunch of colorists as well, some letterers. But for those that don't know, Gargoyles was an animated series, a cartoon series that premiered on Disney Channel. Gosh, I think back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I remember watching this a bit as I was growing up. But this comic does take place after the events of the main series. Luckily, Greg Weisman did set it up in such a way that you can really kind of catch up on lost time, or if you've never been really familiar with the Gargoyles IP, the intellectual property, the franchise, it does bring you up to speed pretty nicely. I think actually the first couple issues really kind of set the stage, get you into the universe, the lore, the main characters. So I would say that overall this book is fairly accessible to new readers, but I think if you have a better understanding of that old series, or if you watched some of it back in the day, I think you're a little bit better equipped to just jump into the world. But I do think Weisman did a great job of setting up for people that are experiencing Gargoyles here in this book for the first time. The art throughout it as well is absolutely recognizable. You can definitely tell who these characters are supposed to be if you're a fan of the animated series. Obviously, the art is a bit different than what you saw in the cartoon show, but like I said, I think there's still a fidelity here. I did immediately recognize all the characters. I do think that the art is maybe a bit more cartoony or animated than what I'm used to, but I still thought it was really strong. It's really vivid. The colors pop from the page. The sense of action and movement is all really stellar. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'm currently about halfway through this book, but I'm absolutely liking what I'm reading so far. It's really fun to play in this sandbox again. I do enjoy these characters, and I do have a bit of that nostalgia from the 90s. If you didn't catch it too, this is a Disney property. This is Disney's Gargoyles. This is a volume 1. I believe at the time of the recording, they either released the volume 2 or it's coming shortly, and I think that finishes out the Here in Manhattan arc. But yeah, this is a standard size hardcover. I think Dynamite also came out with a paperback collection. But yeah, I really like it. It's really sturdily built. I think it might be a glued binding. It might have some sewn as well, but I definitely see some glue in the binding. But yeah, a really great copy here. I really like it. Like I said, thick, glossy paper stock as well, kind of like Project Superpowers. So I do enjoy that. I do like seeing the thick, glossy paper. But yeah, this is it. This is Gargoyles. These are creatures that are, statues by day, and they're defenders at night. They come alive, and they're in the city, Manhattan, obviously, like the title would suggest. I think this is all set maybe in the 90s or early 2000s as well, which is kind of fun. But overall, pretty good book. Okay, and last but certainly not least on my haul here from Dynamite Entertainment, we have Peter Cannon Thunderbolt by Kieran Gillen with art from Casper Wingard. This book is an absolute trip. I will say this is an oversized hardcover edition. It is bigger than the Omnibus format. I don't have any absolute editions in my collection, but the only thing that I have that is this height is my Nocturnals hardcover collection from Dark Horse. It is as tall as that, so this is just a really gigantic book. It is really well made. It collects the 5 issues of this run here from Gillen. Honestly, Gillen is one of the reasons this title was a standout for me. I like some of Kieran Gillen's work in general. I wasn't familiar with this property. Peter Cannon has been a character previously in comic book universes. I think DC might have owned him at one point. He's hopped around a couple different people. But at any rate, this is one of the newest incarnations for him, and this was published by Dynamite Entertainment, as I mentioned. This is also a situation kind of like Project Superpowers, where I was completely unfamiliar with this character, but they made it pretty accessible. I don't think you need to know a ton about this character or his universe to really pick up on what the creators are trying to explore here with the storytelling. There's a lot of kind of meta-narrative devices in this book. Essentially, stripped down, this is sort of a superhero story. We have what looks like an alien invasion in the early pages, and we have Peter Cannon and his team trying to stop this threat. There are a ton of twists and turns in this book that I won't spoil here, but I think for me, this book, the way it does meta-narrative and the way it has its own commentary on comic books and superhero comic books, I know there are some comparisons that have been made between this work and something like Watchmen, and while I don't think those comparisons are overly direct, I certainly see why that is thrown into the mix, because the way Gillen and the team just play with convention, play with the format, it just really gets you to ask tough questions about this genre and this medium, and it's really kind of eye-opening and interesting. I actually think the central plot is almost secondary to kind of the greater points and implications this book's trying to make, and just even how it kind of experiments with the format as you go through it. Again, I don't want to spoil too much here, but this was a fascinating read. It was only 5 issues, but it covered a ton of ground. I really am excited to review this on the channel. Like I mentioned, I did read this in its entirety, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on this and a little bit more about the book, please stay tuned, maybe subscribe to the channel. But yeah, I look forward to talking about Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. It was definitely one of the more interesting reads I have read. And like I said, the edition is just huge. I've never reviewed something quite like it. Peter Cannon Thunderbolt from Dynamite Entertainment. Okay, and that's really going to wrap up this quick unboxing haul video for the books that Dynamite Entertainment sent over our way here at the Comic Book Report. These 3 books, like I said, pretty diverse collection here. It's definitely a bit off the beaten path for me, but I'm really eager for that. Honestly, I read and review a ton from Marvel Comics, DC Comics, which I do really love, but I've tried to break into more independent comic book series, and these were all ones that definitely piqued my interest, so I'm really interested to venture forth here. Like I said with Project Superpowers, honestly, if you've read any of these titles, I would love feedback in the comments. You know, I'm definitely trying to break into more indie books. I do try to steer away from graphic depictions of sex, nudity, or any kind of demonic sort of horror books. So I have to be a little more careful with independent work because I find that pops up a bit more. But yeah, these collections look pretty solid. I'm really excited to dive in, but let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any recommendations for independent comics or any books from Dynamite that I might have missed out on. Like I said, other than these collections here, I believe I've only read that Warren Ellis Bond book. But yeah, all good stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for taking this ride with me, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, that comment we talked about, and maybe check out another video on your way out. Thanks everyone, have a good one.